The first thing you notice is not the alarm. It is the silence. At 2:46 in the morning, the engine room loses its heartbeat. The generators stop carrying load. Pumps wind down. Ventilation fans slow above your head. The constant mechanical pressure you have lived inside for months disappears in less than 4 seconds. Then the lights die. Total darkness. A moment later, red emergency lamps flicker through the control room. Alarms begin arriving faster than the screen can display them. Main busbar dead. Propulsion unavailable. Steering power reduced. Multiple pumps stopped. The phone rings. It is the bridge. The captain does not ask what happened. He asks the question that matters. How long until we have power? You look through the control room glass at machinery disappearing into darkness. The ship is still moving, but the propeller is no longer driving it. Wind and swell have begun turning thousands of tons of steel sideways across the ocean. Every officer on board is waiting for your answer. You are the chief engineer. You are supposed to know how to bring the ship back. But before you can restore anything, you must discover what killed it. And if you energize the wrong circuit too early, the next sound may not be an alarm. It may be fire.
From the bridge, a blackout looks like darkness. From the engine room, it is the failure of an entire living system. The main engine may burn fuel to create propulsion, but it depends on machinery around it. Lubricating oil pumps, cooling water pumps, fuel systems, control air, automation, electrical power for equipment that keeps pressure, temperature, and movement inside safe limits. When the generators disappear, those supporting systems begin stopping with them. On this vessel, the emergency generator starts automatically in a separate compartment. Emergency lighting returns. Essential communications remain available. Selected safety equipment receives power, but emergency power does not make the ship normal again. It keeps the emergency from becoming immediately worse. The main switchboard is still dead, the propeller is slowing. Without forward motion, the rudder becomes less effective. The ship begins answering more to the sea than to the bridge. Your second engineer reaches the control room, still pulling on his coveralls. The third and fourth engineers arrive seconds later. Nobody asks whether this is serious. They can hear it. Or rather, they cannot. A healthy engine room is never quiet. People imagine the chief engineer as the best mechanic on board. That is only part of the job. At this moment, your hands are not the most important tools in the room. Your decisions are. You assign the second engineer to the main switchboard and generator status. The third engineer checks the running generator and the standby set that failed to take over. The fourth engineer confirms emergency generator load, starting air pressure, and the condition of essential auxiliary systems. The electrical officer begins reading protection alarms and breaker indications. Nobody touches anything without reporting. That rule matters because darkness creates urgency, and urgency creates careless movement. A breaker can be reset, a generator can be restarted, a pump can be forced back into service. But unless you understand why the system failed, every restart may feed energy directly into the same fault. The bridge calls again. The ship is losing speed quickly. Weather is building from the port side. You give the captain the only honest answer available. Emergency power is stable. Main power is not restored. We are investigating. It sounds controlled. Inside your head, the possibilities are multiplying. Fuel failure, generator protection trip, short circuit, busbar fault, cooling failure, automation failure, a mechanical seizure. One fault may have caused the blackout. A second fault may now prevent recovery. The generator that had been carrying the ship's electrical load is shut down. Its protection system recorded the trip, but the alarm sequence is crowded. When dozens of systems lose power together, the first cause can disappear beneath the consequences. The standby generator should have started and connected. It did start. Then it tripped before taking the ship. That detail changes everything. If one generator fails, another should carry the load. If the replacement also trips, the problem may not be inside either machine. It may be waiting on the electrical system they are trying to energize. The electrical officer traces the sequence. Voltage established. Breaker closing command received. Protection activated. Breaker opened. Something on the main distribution system rejected the incoming power. The second engineer wants to try again after isolating several non-essential loads. It is a reasonable instinct. The ship needs power, but you stop him. A second failed connection could damage equipment that is still healthy. Worse, it could turn an electrical fault into an engine room fire. You order the main bus sections separated. Every large load must remain disconnected. The system will be rebuilt in darkness, one controlled step at a time. The promotion to chief engineer gives you the authority to say yes. Tonight, its real value is knowing when to say no. The phone rings again. The vessel is now nearly stopped through the water. Wind is pushing the bow around. The ship is beginning to roll more heavily as it turns across the swell. On deck, container stacks groan against their lashings. On the bridge, the captain sees heading, speed, weather, and traffic. He cannot see the open switchboard panels, the flashlights moving through the engine room, or the engineers touching metal before trusting it. He only knows the ship has no propulsion. How much time? You look at the clock, 7 minutes since the blackout. In an engine room emergency, time behaves differently. 1 minute is enough for a temperature to rise, a pressure to disappear, or a ship to turn several more degrees. But rushing does not shorten the problem. It only hides mistakes. You tell the captain that the emergency generator is holding and that the team is isolating a suspected main distribution fault. You ask him to prepare for continued loss of propulsion. There is a pause. Then he says, "Understood." Neither of you says what both of you know. The sea does not need the ship to sink before people are in danger. A powerless vessel in worsening weather can become unstable, difficult to control, and almost invisible in its intentions to every ship around it. You begin from the smallest island of power still alive. Emergency lighting, communications, selected control systems. From there, the engine department must rebuild the machinery chain required to restore the main electrical supply. Starting air is checked. Fuel supply is confirmed. Lubrication is established. Cooling arrangements are prepared. Control circuits are examined. The main bus remains split, with the suspected section isolated. The third engineer reports no obvious mechanical damage on the standby generator. The electrical officer confirms that the trip occurred as its breaker attempted to close. The fault is downstream. Somewhere beyond the switchboard, insulation may have failed. A cable may be damaged. A motor may have seized. A feeder may be pulling the entire system toward another collapse. Thousands of electrical components exist on board. You do not have time to inspect every one. You need to identify the pattern. Which equipment was running immediately before the blackout? Which alarms appeared first? Which breaker operated? Which system recently behaved abnormally? The fourth engineer remembers a seawater cooling pump motor that had shown unstable current during the previous watch. It was inspected. Nothing conclusive was found. The pump remained in service. Now its feeder indication is not normal. You order it isolated completely. The ship has redundant machinery, but redundancy only matters when the failed component is prevented from taking the healthy system down with it. 6:55. Power returns, then dies again. The standby generator is prepared for another attempt. This time, the main bus is divided. Non-essential loads remain disconnected. The suspected pump feeder is isolated. Everyone reports clear. The generator starts, its speed stabilizes, voltage rises, the breaker closes. For 1 second, the control room panels illuminate. Then the breaker opens again. Darkness returns. The generator remains running, unloaded. The fault is still present. Nobody speaks. That failed attempt is worse than the first. The first blackout was unexpected. This one happened after your decision. You can feel the crew waiting for you to react. This is the hidden weight of senior rank. When you are junior, failure belongs to the system. When you are chief engineer, failure begins to look personal, even before anyone understands it. The electrical officer studies the indication. The trip is not identical. The isolated half of the bus accepted power momentarily. The connected section did not. That means the fault is narrowed. One half may still be healthy. You do not need to restore the whole ship at once. You need enough of it alive to recover propulsion. The bridge reports heavy rolling. The ship has turned farther across the swell and speed has fallen close to zero. A vessel several miles away is being informed that you are not under command. The captain asks whether the anchors can help. Not here. The water is far too deep. There is no seabed within reach, no harbor tug, no shoreline, no external power cable. Mid-ocean, the engine room is the only rescue service coming. The chief officer reports that some refrigerated cargo units have lost normal supply. That matters, but not yet. Hotel services matter, cargo matters, schedules matter. For the next few minutes, propulsion matters more. You create a restart priority. One healthy main bus section. Essential pumps only. Steering support, control air, main engine auxiliaries, then propulsion. Everything else waits. Cabin lighting can wait. Air conditioning can wait. Galley equipment can wait. The ship will not be comfortable. It must become controllable. The electrical officer opens another protected section and smells it before he sees it. Burned insulation, not flames, not yet. A connection inside one bus section has overheated. The fault has damaged insulation near the distribution assembly, creating the path that repeatedly trips incoming power. The crew prepares the section for isolation. This is not a dramatic repair with sparks and shouting. It is slower than that. Power sources are confirmed isolated. Stored energy is considered. The damaged section is separated from the healthy side. Connections are checked. Every action is repeated back because one assumption around a switchboard can kill someone. Sweat runs inside your coveralls despite the dead ventilation. The engine room has become hotter with every passing minute. The emergency generator is carrying what it can, but it was never meant to carry the full life of the ship indefinitely. You look at the clock. 19 minutes. The bridge calls. The captain's voice is controlled, but the movement behind it is not. How close? You watch the electrical officer complete the isolation, preparing to energize the healthy bus. This is the moment. If the diagnosis is correct, power will return. If it is wrong, you may lose another attempt or damage the last healthy route back. You authorize the breaker closing. The standby generator takes the healthy bus. This time the breaker stays closed. Panels illuminate across the control room. Fans begin moving. Not all of them, only the systems you have selected. One lubricating oil pump starts. Pressure rises. A cooling water pump follows, then fuel circulation. Control air begins recovering. The ship does not come back in one cinematic surge. It returns as a sequence of numbers moving in the correct direction. Pressure, temperature, voltage, frequency, air, flow. Each one unlocks the next machine. The bridge receives steering support. The captain reports rudder response, but without propeller flow, it remains limited. The main engine must now be prepared. It has stopped under blackout conditions, and nobody assumes it can simply restart. The turning gear status is confirmed. Lubrication continues. Cooling conditions are checked. Starting air is available, but not unlimited. The engine team reports ready. You call the bridge. Main engine available for starting attempt. The captain orders dead slow ahead. The start sequence begins. Air enters the cylinders. The enormous engine turns. Once, twice. Then the attempt ends without firing. Starting air pressure has fallen. There may be enough for another attempt, but careless repetition could remove that option. The bridge wants propulsion. The engine room wants an answer. You examine the failed start. Fuel pressure is present. Control conditions appear satisfied. The engine turned, but combustion did not establish. Then the second engineer notices the problem. One control air branch has not fully recovered. A valve signal required for the starting sequence is present but unstable. The system is receiving power. It is not yet receiving enough reliable pressure. At junior rank, this is where you might reach for the nearest component. At chief engineer level, you protect the remaining attempt. You wait, not long, just long enough for the compressor to rebuild the margin the system needs. Every second feels irresponsible, but another failed start would be worse. The captain calls. You tell him the truth. We need 2 more minutes. Outside, the vessel continues rolling. Inside, nobody moves unnecessarily. The compressor runs, the pressure needle climbs. You remember every engine room watch that brought you here. The fourth engineer nights spent learning systems, one valve at a time. The third engineer failures you were allowed to solve. The second engineer years when every breakdown became your problem before it reached the chief. Now there is nobody above you in the department. You are not waiting for certainty. You are building the smallest safe margin available. Control air pressure stabilizes. The team reports ready again. You authorize the second attempt. The bridge orders dead slow ahead. Starting air turns the engine. One cylinder fires, then another. The exhaust temperatures begin rising. The shaft starts moving under combustion. Slowly, unevenly, then steadily. The propeller begins pushing water behind the ship. On the bridge, the rudder finally has flow. The bow starts coming back toward the swell. Speed appears on the display. Less than 1 knot, then more. The ship is not fully restored. Half the main distribution system remains isolated. Non-essential loads are still dark. The damaged switchboard section requires repair before normal operation can continue. But the vessel is moving under its own power. The captain calls. Propulsion confirmed. You answer with 2 words. Engine confirmed. Around you, nobody celebrates. The second engineer leans against the console for a moment. The electrical officer keeps watching the healthy bus. The junior engineers return to their assigned equipment. The blackout is over. The emergency is not. For the next several hours, the engine department operates a wounded ship. Loads are controlled manually. Temperatures are watched more closely. The damaged section remains isolated. Every restart request is questioned. Cargo systems, accommodation services, and non-essential equipment are restored only when the electrical margin allows it. A technical report begins before anyone has properly rested. What failed? Why did protection not isolate it sooner? Which alarms appeared first? What maintenance history existed? What must be repaired before the ship can safely continue? The captain carries responsibility for the entire vessel, but below deck, the machinery answers to you. That is what reaching chief engineer gives you. Authority, respect, better pay, the final word in the engine department. What it takes is harder to see. Sleep that can be interrupted by one phone call. The knowledge that every unusual vibration may become your problem. The distance between what the bridge needs and what damaged machinery can safely provide. And the psychological weight of choosing when incomplete information is enough to act. At 2:46 in the morning, everyone asked how long it would take to restore power. They believed the chief engineer would know. The truth is more uncomfortable. The chief engineer is not the person who always knows the answer. You are the person who must find it while the ship is turning sideways in the dark. And if you make the wrong decision, the ocean will never see the switchboard, the alarms, or the exhausted people fighting below deck. It will only see a powerless ship. That is your life as the chief engineer when the vessel loses power mid-ocean. But you did not begin with the final decision. You began at the lowest level of the engine room, cleaning, observing, and learning machinery that could one day place an entire ship in your hands. That is the next journey. Your life as every merchant Navy engineer rank.